When you feel like a loser, remember what there is new Zelda. Nowadays, many people are writing how to cut down the doubt. Someone is mining bitcoins, someone is writing rap, and the most smart give out old games for new ones by attaching fresh self graphics to them, spreading and selling it all for $120. Meet the Zelda of the Legends of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, the perfect game for those who do not like to play games. They say that initially it was DLC, which has grown to a separate game, as if it's different now. Why invent a new one when the old is still well bought? Critics say that we have the game of the year in front of us and what's special about it. Well, for example, there is nothing different from the previous part, which was released only 6 years ago and this is success. While others make such no lights what are worse than the previous parts, Nintendo gives the old game for a new one, and this is met with applause. Breath of the Wild was very cool, so much so that I will never play it and I hope I won't play it. You run around the empty world for 10 hours or 100 hours collecting leaves and try to entertain yourself. It will cost 800 in 2017. It would be stupid if for 6 years Nintendo had worked on the mistakes and made its most profitable series, which brings billions, at least a little more interesting. And so they do, and if they want to spare the views and them cartridges because you are obliged to pay the $120, what is the craziest setup for our ideal product, which was made by 2.5 outsourcers on an old modded engine. A new game this time cost $120. I have a good idea in my head. Let me pay you $200. Just don't make me play it. Why Zelda's fans are the most conservative people in the world? I would like to have such an audience show the finger to them every time. They will rejoice like the first time and now ask unnecessary questions to the game. This time we have the most interesting story in the series. It's Zelda, do you really think? What this time you will have to run and rescue someone again. But if it's necessary, then this time it will be completely different. We have different games, you just need to feel them. Here like pretty years ago we have to run through an addicted and empty open world, which this time is the largest and empties in the series. What's success? It only took Nintendo 30 years to surprise itself. Maybe in 100 years they will start releasing interesting games. I really hope that we will see this wonderful future. That's what we live for. In the center of the plot is our old friend, the Gnome Link. All the last part he saved Princess Zelda, always winning and pampered. Will jump it over all the castles, just not be him, such a modern, independent woman. And our dwarf instinct of finding someone simpler and more accessible continues to run after him. Such a puppet of a game scale, I think many people in our time will be close to such a hero. In the 21st century, the only thing that needs to be saved is liberal values, and the rest will wait. In general, Link and Zelda were going to close some kind of magical portal and we will find out of or opening it only in the 10th part. There is nothing to worry about, you just need to feel. The portal appeared under some kind of lock when I didn't clean up the garbage for a long time, and it evolved into a separate dimension. Next time you will take out the garbage behind the bed in the garage. As the princess went to see this movie at 3 o'clock in the morning, she slipped and fell. The credits are playing. The game, it's a masterpiece, 10 out of 10 out, honestly 2 cheers. Unfortunately, she is alive, and we will have to have her again on day for the 15th time. Very no such turns in the previous parts, so everything is like the first time. To do this, a new revolutionary function was introduced into this part. Because of it, the game is easily confused with a homeless simulator. Now our hero has to collect everything that is lying under his feet and think very to apply it. No one will promote you, because it is apparently a separate service for which you have to pay another $120. From the scraps of enemies, our heroes can make unique potions, poisons or special arrows. The main thing is not to use them. Otherwise, the game may be banned in Brazil for excessive cruelty. From all sorts of boards, we can now create mechanisms that have become the main feature of the games, and right from the start, you don't need to learn this, you just stuck what was lying under your feet and it came to life. There is no need to bother too much, this is a plus for the game. Nintendo outplayed everyone and finally introduced into Zelda what was still in Minecraft 10 years ago. Definitely a success. What do you say, a brazen plagiarism? No, it's just what geniuses think the same way, and they don't think either. And to save the princess, we need to run back and forth on an empty map, fight with the same type of monsters of which vary at 3 types for a 25-hour game, drag into our bottomless pocket and any garbage that lies under our feet. There are no weight restrictions and we can store all the resources of the kingdom in them. I think officials could be envious. Also solve incredible fashioning puzzles of as many as 2 types. It can be seen but Zelda's fan will not be able to cope with a large number. You either need to find a part for the mechanism or connect correctly. I don't know if there is anything more interesting in the world. Many people say that Zelda is a special game, you don't have to play it, you have to feel it. In many ways, it has necessary things separated by her unique music, which is difficult to distinguish from the previous parts. The main feeling that she causes is dependency and dungeon causer. Feelings for Zelda's fan may not be clear. I can confirm this daughter will also have one song playing in our head for 10,000 hours, and we don't need more. Very are legends what the music in Zelda adapts to the events in the game. There is nothing to imagine because they have never seen the same anywhere else. This is very it's a scene but in 2023 when we run calm music twice and when we fight tense some kind of magic. The very Nintendo magic that we were scared of turned out to be true. I propose to admit that this technology was invented by Nintendo and only can be in fair games. If you want to use it, pay them. They are not greedy, it's just what every world shall be paid, right? Right. If something works perfectly, why change it? The gameplay in Zelda is a cross between the everyday life of harmless people and a rabid berserker who throws himself and everything that moves, unless of course it is famous. I'm the only one who is a little surprised why is this very open world which is the largest and most open in the series. According to Nintendo, absolutely lifeless. There are other heroes in it or interesting characters or entire understanding. This is what a saturated world looks like. Its saturation is achieved by empty and open spaces. There is nothing else but enemies and leaves. And where did everyone go? Or in Zelda, to some kind of epidemic crisis, and everyone just dumped to live in successful and prosperous Russia because they very tried of all the problems of the Western world. Where are the interesting NPCs and minor characters? Why can't we team up with them to take us together? Why does every assignment in the game come down to complete the puzzle? About it be boring if very a lot of interesting and unique quests characters with whom we call to test together or help them unravel something interesting. They say what tests are not the main thing, they should not be exciting, it's interesting to get to them in Zelda. They say is this an adventure in itself which replaces everything else. Well, yes. What could be more fun than running for half an hour in a strange plane in the middle of the void, where nothing ever happens in search of where you need to go. And often it is also so kindly done what you run to the place and it turns out what the train think you need some very deep under the bottom or vice versa on a big mountain and you will still have to climb very. As I understand it, this is another revolutionary technology that Nintendo has patented, and it is not made at all to stretch the game so that it seems bigger. After all, if you remove cheese ruins, the game will be reduced with only 3 times, and thank god, or it's a cunning plan. After a couple of runs, is very a chance that you will forget where you are and that you are playing and will not run to demand your money back. If this film, it will turn out to be a movie, a time machine into a toilet. Indeed, I have too much short time, so that when I come from software from work studio, from the toilet, I still work and not have fun in Nintendo games. To climb into a high place, where you needed to build a mechanism, all sorts of propagatives and carpet planes, very realistic in real life, they do that. And they are literally made of shit and sticks. I found a couple of boards attached to the engine and flew. All these engineering masterpieces are flying extremely unreliable, and at any moment they can collapse or crash into rocks. Everything is like in life, and you will have to repeat this unique ritual over and over again. A lot of fun rides. I personally feel like some kind of animal which is skillfully trying to train for its own money. They say that this generates the same unique emotions because there are no such unique journeys in other games. Apparently, some emotions are an abundance of swearing and curses against developers. And again, the infection did not fly 2 meters again half an hour of time to waste. And why do something we seem to have a built-in carpet on a strand in this part? If consumes a lot of stamina, you can fly far on it. It won't last for a long time, so you will have to build your own. Time after time, you will get up and fall, and repeat everything over and over again. At some point, you will just get bored. But it is not clear why. What else did you want for your measly $120? I don't think of this mechanic, it is so interesting. So do the whole games for it. Well, once or twice, but dozens of times you will. You need to get somewhere and design something for this. Moreover, all the structures are not reliable and they go with boring status, which, of course, in gambling, but most likely everything will break. The developers don't want to surprise or enter you. They say enter yourself. How much does it cost? $120. Give me 2, please. As payment for the game is just wild. Let's start with the fact that optimization is not ideal to put it midly. There are constantly FPS downdowns. Especially in dynamic stance, some objects are loaded right in front of your face, and some opponents will get stuck in your architectural perversions. In a good way, the game still needs to be brought to mind. In my opinion, it should cost $10. It is played mainly by school children who do not have such a lot of money. Why do you think what if you feel a large amount it will increase the value of the game? Yes, no, on the contrary, most of them will not be able to play it because it's a pity for her money, which the events in the world no one has found. Zelda doesn't need it all, she needs real things. Let's start with the plot. It's stupid and dangerous and ends at the same place where it begins. Now we feel what is the end. No, because the greedy Nintendo needs to rip another 100 parts very will be structurally quickly on new chip in each new part. Why do we have to save some woman at all? Now is it the age of feminism, independence, and such a woman? Let her save herself. It would be interesting for me to look at some new and unknown heroes and choose what we know from the games of the 90s. There are a couple of new characters, but they are so boring and insubtle that the main characters still look decent against their background, despite the fact that they open their mouths in a couple of moments. The rest of the time they make pretentious faces and throw the same boyish quotes. Like this world, it is just a pile of ashes, but is it to the broken? It's life itself. Why fry kebabs if very spread or decent women do not argue about men's taste, they pay for them. I have already thought of the latter myself, but there are a lot of similar things. The gameplay could have been more diverse. Puzzles, riddles, on button actions is of course cool, but what is if the game had more activities than just running and fighting? Yes, we have added several features that are so cool, but I have never used them during the game. Teleport only one way up. There was not enough money for the bottom, a laser what returns objects to where they came from. If you find where to use it during the whole game, you are a level 99 genius. And why does the game need such stupid features? The open world is a decoration where no one lives, where except the enemies. Why is very inefficient in the game? Kebabs, buffing, huts, and camping traps and contracts and interesting extras. Tasks for living up your skills. After all, we don't grow or develop the whole game into the end. We have as many skills at the beginning of the game. Progress is not filled because of this. We run to the whole game and in fact we don't discover anything new. Because of this, there is no sense of progress. I would like to gradually open up new opportunities, cooler weapons and mechanisms, and when the content exalts itself to hours after the start of the game, we won't see anything new anymore. Because of this, the desire to see water disappears. You just don't have the motivation to combine and look for new things. At some point, an hour after the start, you already have everything you need for a comfortable passage, so you don't need to develop to come up with something new. Everything sets you and you stop experimenting and you go through everything according to the same scheme. The game does not push you to discover something new and experiment. You have found a successful formula and a good weapon and you will complete to through the whole game with it. It's one thing, if very to some circumstance like monsters not killed by conventional weapons and you will have to constantly look for a new approach to them. Lesson from software games, but no, they are all typical and with the syllogised inventory of subverse heroes, they are calmly defeated. There is no progress, which means there is nothing to strive for. You use what you already know how to do and you have enough of it because of what you don't get bright emotions because to try you have to try, you have a lot of lips and opponents are slow and weak. The locations turned out to be very similar and no very different from the previous parts. I hope we will visit 3 new kingdoms, they all look the same and do not cause surprise. Ordinary, typical, without features. Most of the game be right tall mountains and catacombs. Do not count on any feast for the eyes and a cool visual. All places and levels so are given pale green, yellow or orange. These are the main colors of the whole game. Either way very made for a colorblind people or the director of Nintendo, they do not distinguish other colors. Why not add a lot of Unico levels which haven't been the series yet? Why add something we have already seen before or see every day in other games? According to fans, Zelda games are amazing, but I'm personally surprised how there is so much noise around these glitched by passing games that make so much noise according to one scheme. Nintendo does not want to take risks and experiments which is why their games are formulated and do not stand out from other popular games, so this part is similar to the recent Immortals from Ubisoft and Genshin Impact, and even the recent Fallout 4 has a lot in common. And every is a unique itself, and there is nothing unlike what all sorts of hate critics are always talking about. In the game, I don't want to study every brush and perform primitive tasks, and she can't offer anything else. This most lively and open world sandbox is a faded decoration behind which there is emptiness. The game will reach a wide audience at the expense of casualty. It is not necessary to think and fantasize in order to pass it, but I expect more. Why do game studios make their games looks like everything what is popular? Or why not make small local budget games but with some unique chips? In Zelda we are like an errand boy who does not solve anything, does not control anything, does not influence anything and does what he is told. Perhaps this is normal for most people, but I'm worried I can't empathize with such a hero. I don't want to look for something to occupy myself with, to think how and on what I can get to some into place. I want to play interesting games. The new Zelda Rise of the Kingdoms is a perfect sleeping pill by game. Falling asleep under it is perfect, and if you want adventures, this is the last game where you can find them. Write what you think about it, agree what is my disappointment of the year or not, and subscribe to my channel so as not to miss new Hunts reviews, and this is the only channel where it tells the truth.